Hello, and welcome to another year of Women's Walk. We are so glad that you have joined us this year as we grow and as we learn together. My name is Shevlin, and I'm going to be kicking off our year by just casting a little vision about what our plan is for Women's Walk this year. Our plan is to take a journey through discipleship. Now, every time you're part of a Bible study or Women's Walk or going to church, you're part of discipleship. But our focus this year is really to talk about what does that mean? What does that mean to be a disciple of Christ? And then as an overflow of being a disciple, to bring others alongside of us and help them to grow in Christ as well. If you've seen our Women's Walk logo this year, there's a picture of a tree and it says love, learn, and lead. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. And we're going to look at how John 15, when Jesus talks about being the vine, how that really gives us a picture for all of these things. Now, I'm kind of a wannabe gardener. I love plants. I love digging around in my yard. I don't know a whole lot and I'm not great at it, but I do enjoy the process of planting new things, watching them grow, taking out the weeds, and I love to see what comes from the fruit of my efforts, or what comes as the result of a lack of knowledge or the lack of my efforts. But I do enjoy seeing the process of a plant and how it grows. So John 15 talks about this. Jesus gives us this great picture here. Starting in verse 1, I am the true vine and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So the beginning of this whole process is love. And truly, it is God's love towards us that starts this discipleship process. He initiates with us this love and this pursuing of a relationship with us. And it says in John 15:9, as the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. Jesus shows us this cycle. The love of the Father comes to Jesus. The love of Jesus comes to us. And then we respond in our love back to him. God shows us his love in so many different ways. And the main way that he shows us his love is the cross. By Jesus dying and paying the price for us so that we could have forgiveness of sins and a relationship with him. Now, when we understand God's love for us, we have this natural response to love him back. And as we love him back, the call then is to remain. And Jesus says this over and over again in John 15, remain. Well, what does that mean? To learn from him, to learn about him, to stay close, connected, abide. It's this picture of this constant staying with. This is the journey of discipleship. So in our next part, as we learn, it is simply about remaining. We stay connected to the vine. And as we stay connected, we automatically learn. If you spend a lot of time with someone, you might start to pick up some of their mannerisms or their sayings. You learn about them naturally because you're spending time with them. As we spend time with Jesus, we naturally learn about him, who he is, what he wants for us. Anytime that we love something or someone, we automatically spend time and money and effort investing in that. In a hobby, in a sports team, in an author we like. There's any number of things that we love that we learn about because we love it or love the person. It's this natural response to know more about. And that's what Jesus is calling us to spend time with him, to learn about him. Another part of learning about Jesus or showing our love for him is obeying him. In John 15:10, it says, if you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. He's showing that there's this cycle here of if we love him, we obey him. And as we obey him, we're showing that we love him. John 14:23, a little earlier, Jesus says, anyone who loves me will obey my teaching. He says this is an automatic response. Your love for me, you will automatically do what I've asked you to do. 1 John 5:3 also says, this is love for God, to keep his commands. So as we abide and as we remain, as we stay connected to the vine, there should be an automatic obedience. And what that looks like in the life of the plant is we grow where the plant is growing. The plant does not have to decide which direction it's going to go, how it's going to grow, what color of flowers it's going to have, or what kind of fruit it's going to bear. It simply stays connected to the roots, to the vine, and it does what the plant tells it to do. It doesn't have to think about it or work at it. Sometimes in our discipleship journey, we try to work really hard. We want to grow and we want to know more about Jesus. And so we might make a plan, and we have lists made, and we've bought journals, and we've bought Bible studies and books, and we plan for how many minutes a day. And then what happens is it turns into a striving. It turns into something that we are trying to produce by our own efforts. And Jesus just says, just stay with me. Stay connected. Walk with me. I'll show you which way to go. And growth will come as a natural result of staying connected. We don't have to work at it or figure it out or know what the next step is, because the vine knows. The vine has a plan. The gardener has a plan for that plant. You just simply have to submit and surrender to the direction the plant is going. Also, in this growing process, we remember that there's a lot of things that a plant needs in order to grow. We know that a plant needs its source, the vine. We know it needs roots and it needs light, and we get all of those from God. God is our source. We stay connected to him. We also know that a plant needs food and water. Well, as we take God's word into us, as we spend time in Bible studies like Women's Walk, as we spend time in Sunday services, as we spend time in the word, we are getting food and water, and the plant is being fed. However, a plant also needs dirt, fertilizer. Sometimes plants grow best in rocky soil. You may have felt lately like there's a lot of manure in your life, a lot of rocky soil. But I've got good news for you. Those are necessary for the plant to grow. The gardener knows exactly what he's doing and exactly when and how much that plant needs in order to produce its best fruit. Sometimes the plant needs pruning. Sometimes things need to be cut off or cut back. You might feel like you're in a season of pruning, but good news, because the gardener knows exactly where and how much to cut back, so that, John 15 says, it will produce even more fruit. Now, the pruning is painful. The fertilizer is not fun, but it produces the best results. And so we stay connected to the vine, we trust the gardener for his results, and we submit ourselves to his care. The other thing we need to remember in this learning process is that fruit bearing has seasons. I have plants in my yard that flower beautifully in February, full bloom in the tree. I have plants that won't bloom until June. Now, I might be looking at someone else's life and say, wow, they are sure producing fruit. They might be in a different season than me. My fruit bearing season might look different than someone else around me. We also bear different kinds of fruit. Flowers, oranges, all sorts of different kinds of fruit. And we remember that there's even a cycle to each plant. There are plants that look in my yard that I am sure in the middle of winter are gone, and I'm going to have to cut them out come spring. Like there's no sign of life anywhere. Come spring, tiny green buds start appearing, and all of a sudden there's life. So where sometimes we think something might be dead, something we think in us that God can't possibly resurrect, fix, grow, or make new, come spring, at just the right time, that growth starts to emerge. I am absolutely fascinated by spring. I literally walk my yard every single day to see what's new, because there is always something new every day. A new bud, a new leaf, a flower that has suddenly appeared. It is fascinating that this growth can come from seemingly nowhere, from the dead of winter. And so let that be an encouragement to you, that there might be a season of pruning. There might be a season of winter. It does not mean that there is not growth happening. It does not mean the plant is dead or that there is no hope. But the master gardener knows absolutely the right timing. And our only job is to stay connected to the source, connected to the vine. And eventually, the right fruit will come at the right time. Which leads us to our last part, the part of leading others to God's love. Well, how do we know a plant is healthy? By what it produces, by the color of the leaves, by the quantity and quality of the fruit that it bears. So when we are healthy, when we are connected to the vine, we produce fruit. We produce fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience. All of them are found in Galatians. We produce it in an overflow so that it spills out to those around us. Have you ever seen a fruit tree hanging over a fence? And so it's come out of that person's yard and now there's heavy fruit in abundance. Have you ever known someone that's trying to give away buckets of lemons because their tree is just producing far too much? When we stay connected and we're healthy and we do our job to remain in the vine, there's an abundance of fruit. That fruit is a benefit to others. It's visible, it's usable, and other people get to benefit from our connection to the vine. Naturally, the people we bump into at the grocery store, our neighbors, the people at school drop-off, the people in our workplace, we naturally have an overflow of this abundance of fruit, and it's a benefit to those around us. It's usable to those around us. Fruit is necessary for reproduction. It's in the fruit, it's in the flower that the seeds come out to be able to produce a new plant. And so as we produce fruit, we naturally pour out onto others, and those people can be led to Jesus's love when they see this fruit in us. And again, we remember there's different kinds of fruit. The fruits of the Spirit are available to us all. Love, joy, peace, patience are the call for every believer. But the gardener also gives us specific gifts, specific fruit to bear. It might be hospitality or prayer, leadership, teaching. There's any number of ways that the Spirit gives us a specific gift. And those are the ways He wants to use you to lead others to His love. Again, it's easy to look around and say, wow, I wish I had the ability to do that. I wish I had that gift. Look at how they're drawing others to Christ. Pay attention to where you have been planted. The gardener has put you in a specific spot, the right soil, the right place to bear fruit in the right season. See what God has in front of you. What gifts has He given you? What fruit have you been called to bear? Who is in front of you in your specific home, neighborhood, workplace, your context that needs to be led to God's love? Your fruit will be specific to your location. And God uses that in order to draw other people to Him. So as we journey through this year, we're going to be going through this book, Organic Disciples, and then we're going to take a look at the life of Paul. And all of those will show us how we learn first, how we grow as disciples. And then as we grow and as we learn, that fruit then comes out as a benefit to others and to show others God's love. So we remember when we feel like we're striving, we remember the source is love. The source is to remain. When we don't know the next step today to take, we just stay connected to the true vine. when we worry about how to love someone else or how to bring them to the love of God, we just bear our fruit and let our fruit be visible and a benefit to others. And as we grow through this process of knowing that we're loved first by the Father, and then we naturally respond in love to Him, we stay connected to Him, to the true vine. We will obey. We will naturally grow where He tells us to grow. We will naturally produce fruit that can reproduce, that can be a benefit to others. And then we can be what Psalm 1 talks about. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, who meditates on His law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. This is our prayer for each woman with us this year. Thank you for joining us. God bless you.